Hi, I'm Teri Myers, and I'm an engineer at BAE Systems. At BAE in Cedar Rapids, we make high-end GPS and navigation technology. So GPS stands for Global Positioning System, and if you think about your phone and how you use maps to be able to navigate from place to place, that's kind of what we do, but we do that for our U.S. military. At BAE Systems, I'm the leader for knowledge and engagement. What does that really mean? Well, I'm in charge of our onboarding and training for our new hires when they come on, as well as the career development for our employees. And I also work on our community engagement side. So I get to do fun things like this, where I talk to students about STEM and what the opportunities are in the workforce once they graduate from high school. So how did I get started as an engineer? Well, when I was younger, about your age, I really enjoyed my math and science classes, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And my dad recommended that I look into engineering. And it just so happens that he was an engineer at the Maytag Corporation, and he let me talk to some of the engineers that he worked with as well. And I really enjoyed the part where they talked about problem solving and figuring things out and taking things apart. It really resonated with me, and that was something that I enjoyed doing. So I decided to go for it and go get an engineering degree. So off to Iowa State I went, and I went for the first year where I was just pre-engineering, so I wasn't sure what discipline I really wanted to go do. And it was there in that first year that I kind of realized that I'm a very visual person. I like doing hands-on stuff. I like taking things apart. I like to be able to see it. And so I really decided that mechanical engineering was going to be the place for me. So for the next 3 years, I studied for my mechanical engineering degree. And I will say that during the end, I kind of was to a point where I was kind of second guessing myself if this was what was right for me. I was interviewing for a lot of positions, and none of them really were enticing to me. They didn't sound like something I wanted to do for the rest of my career. So I really got nervous a little bit about, wow, did I make a big decision? And that wasn't the right decision for me. But clearly, being that close to the end, I needed to just get my degree. So I finished my degree, and turns out I did make the right decision because I got a job at NASA right out of college. And so I moved down to Houston, Texas, and I worked at the Johnson Space Center working in mission control. So at the time, we were just building the International Space Station. Only one of the elements had been launched at that point in time when I got down there. So it was really exciting times. I got to work on the robotic arm for the space shuttle and the robotic arm for the space station. And I was there when we actually first flew that up there, the space station arm. And then I also was the one that designed the very first mission to use the space station robotic arm to install an element on the space station. So you want to talk about exciting. But really what I learned a lot about down there was an entire system. Working in robotics, even though I was a mechanical engineer, wasn't just about the mechanical part of it. I had to know the mechanical part of it. I had to know the electrical part of it. I had to understand the software that was on it that made it run, and all of those together made up the whole system. So this is what we really call systems engineering. And this was back then not really a huge thing that people talked about, but now you can actually go get degrees in that. So for the rest of my career, I've mostly been known as a systems engineer, and it really started at NASA. So a lot of the stuff that I did while I was at NASA was we created all of the procedures for the astronauts to run in space. We trained the astronauts when they were there so that they knew everything that they were supposed to do when they got up there during the mission. And then, of course, sitting in mission control, we sat there during the missions and monitored the system itself, making sure that everything was running as it was supposed to, and then also watching the tasks as they were using the robotic arm to install elements, that everything was going the way that we expected them to do. But really at NASA was where I learned that I had a love for training and teaching people. Maybe I was a math teacher in another life, I'm not sure. But really, as I trained the astronauts, but also trained my own teammates, I learned that this was something that I enjoyed doing, helping people learn what to do in their day-to-day jobs. So after 8 years at NASA, I left Houston and moved back to Iowa, where I worked for Rockwell Collins. And at Rockwell Collins, I worked on avionics and cockpits. So when you walk into a plane and you look in the cockpit where the pilot's at, that's really what I did, was help upgrading all of that system for commercial jets. And I did that for several years before I went and moved over to the military side, where I worked on our U.S. Coast Guard helicopters. And that was a really fun job for me. I worked very closely with the Coast Guard on understanding what their needs were for the cockpit to make sure that they flew their missions safely. I got to spend a lot of time working with them. I got to spend a lot of time writing the requirements that they needed and designing all of that, as well as doing testing. So again, the fun part, testing, I got to actually fly on all of the helicopters. So after we would do an upgrade to their system, we would go fly, and then we would make sure that it was working the way that we expected it to. And that was really an enjoyable part of it. Being a part of that team to make sure that they could go work their mission really meant something to me. And that was something that I'll always take with me. But after I worked at Collins, I decided to go over to BAE where I can be in my current role, which is the leader for knowledge and engagement. So remember how I said that I really enjoyed training and I learned that at NASA? So that's what I get to do now. So I help create our learning academy for the employees that work at BAE Systems. When you come to a new job, you're not going to know what to do. Even though you went and got your degree in that specific area of discipline, every job that you come into is going to have to teach and train you what you need to do, tailored to what they do for their business. So that's what I do, is I help curate all of that material and organize it so that when we have new employees come in, they can come on board quickly, and so that we can further the development of what they want to do as they grow throughout their career. So that's a little bit about my career path, and you can see where I started and where I ended were very, very different. Pretty sure when I was your age, if you would have told me I would have been the leader for knowledge and engagement, I would have said, I don't even know what that is. Obviously, things evolve as we learn more things, as we gain more experiences, and just as we get older and learn more about the businesses that we're a part of. What are some of the things though, that I could do right now to help prepare me for that? I would say that I played sports all throughout elementary school, junior high, and high school. I played sports. Team sports is really, really something that helps teaches you how to be a great teammate. When you get to your career, you're going to have to work with other people, and not everybody gets along, and not everybody has the same values. And so being able to have that experience when you're younger helps a lot. And what are some of the classes that you could be taking right now to be able to further yourself before you get to college? Does your school have engineering classes you can take? Can you take a speech class? Because guess what? I wasn't very good at speaking in front of people, and that was the worst class I took in high school, but boy, did it help prepare me for the future. Think about what those courses are that you could be taking now to be able to get better, besides just math and science. What about woodworking, right? Like you work with your hands, you try to figure out how to make things fit together. Those are all part of that problem solving process that will help you within engineering. So I really encourage you to think about the classes that you're taking. Let's talk about some of the skills that I've learned over the course of my career. So one of the biggest ones would be time management. You really have to be careful about how you're spending your time, because you're going to always be on a schedule and you got to make sure that you're meeting your due dates. So make sure that the time that you are spending on projects is value added time, and that they aren't things that maybe aren't important to be able to get done. Project management skills, so understanding end to end what your whole project looks like so that you can manage all the pieces that go along with it is a big one. Communication for sure. You're going to have a lot of teammates that you're going to have to talk to and make sure that you understand what they're doing and that they understand what you are doing so that you can bring everything together at the end. So being able to communicate with each other is a really big skill that you're going to have to be able to do. And then of course, good problem solving skills. Like any engineer, that's your job, is to go solve problems. So think about what technology that might be new that you could be bringing in to making solutions for your team, or just thinking outside of the box. Don't get stuck in that rut of thinking that, oh, this is how we've always done it, or this is the way that it's always been done. What are some new ways? Maybe they're better. Maybe we've advanced in technology enough to make them better. So I really encourage you to look at all of those kind of skills and see how you can gain them right now, because those are only going to make you better in the future. So thank you for listening to me. I hope that you learned a little bit about what it's like to be an engineer, and I wish you all the luck in the future. Thank you.